Can you paint laminate furniture? Why, yes, you can. Let me show you how. I get the question a lot, can you paint laminate furniture? And the answer is yeah, and it's actually not that much different than painting a regular piece of all wood furniture. Maybe you've got an old IKEA dresser that you just want to change the color of, or a lot of this style in particular, the French Provençal style, has that top that's kind of that plasticky laminate top on it. And with just a little bit of prep work, a little sanding, we can get the top just right so that paint will stick to it and it'll last just like anything else. So you can completely change the look of a piece of laminate furniture with the same paint that you've been using on all of your other pieces. So that's what we're gonna do today. This is an old sewing table. These are fantastic now for bedside tables. They're a little bit higher, so they still are really functional, even though there's not a lot of inside storage. But the top of this has that plasticky finish to it. So we are just gonna sand this down really good, paint this all up, and it's gonna look like a totally new table. So I'm just gonna get some prep work done, get this handle off the front, and we'll get started. Okay, for the top, we are going to sand this with 120 grit sandpaper. This is a heavier grit than I usually use to prep the pieces, but what we need to do, since this is a really smooth plastic top, just make sure it gets scratched up enough to hold the paint. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do it by hand. If you had a big piece, you could definitely use a pad sander, but I don't usually feel like it's worth it. Doing it by hand is just fine. So I'm gonna use circular motions and just kind of scratch up the top of this. Just about like that, and there is no turning back now because this top is scratched. So this is just what we want it to look like. And even if you feel it, it's got now that roughed up texture, which again, it will just help the paint to stick to it. Now the base of this is just regular wood, so I'm gonna go over that with 220 grit sandpaper like we normally would to prep a piece. Okay, I'm using a mix of denatured alcohol and water just to clean off all of the dust. There's some cobwebs on here we're gonna get off at the same time. And then we'll be ready to paint. The paint I'm using for this is General Finishes Milk Paint, and I'm gonna use Queenstown Gray. It's just a really nice dark gray, and it's gonna cover super nicely. So from here on out, there's nothing different than just painting a piece of furniture. Because we've scratched up the top really nicely, the paint will just stick to it. This front panel, it looks like a drawer, but it's not actually, since this was a sewing cabinet. It's actually a door that swings open, and there's not really storage in this piece at all, so I'm just painting it right in place and I will replace the hardware when it's all finished. And I'm just working section by section here to make sure everything is covered. It's covering really well. Okay, the first coat on this is done. I'm just gonna let it dry and give it a second coat. It covered really well, but there's a few places that need a little bit more, so it'll get an all over second coat. The beauty with General Finishes milk paint is you don't have to top coat it unless you want to. And even though the top of this was laminate, it doesn't require a top coat. But because it's a bedside table or a side table, I'll probably go ahead and give it just one go over with a top coat to seal it and protect it a little bit more. And then that's it. I will show you when this table is all finished. And just like that, your laminate furniture can have a whole new life, a whole new color. It is easy to accomplish, just like painting a regular piece of wood furniture. So I hope I've given you some inspiration. You can go paint any laminate piece you want. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out my website, rootsandwingsfurniture.com, for more painting tips and tricks and DIY. Also, subscribe to this channel so that you won't miss a thing. Click the button below.